In this video, I will show you how the CCE Global Blockchain Registry solution makes use of the iov42 blockchain. For that, I will run through this registry in a way that I will show you first how this registry looks from the perspective of any user who visits the website. After that, we will create different kind of users. One of them is a project developer. As a project developer, we want to onboard a project to the very point where we are able to actually request carbon credits. These carbon credits will then be issued by the administrator. But before that, a certifying authority has to validate and verify the project itself. After the carbon credits have been issued, they will be transferred to the project developer. And for example, a buyer, a company, is then able to request them from the project developer, and the project developer can transfer these credits to this company. Okay, but let's start with the website itself. So once a user comes to the website, any web user comes to the website, he will see the dashboard with some key reduction targets, some total emissions, a roadmap with some key figures. Down here, the user has some featured projects. This is a selected amount of projects from our list of projects, which brings us to the next point here. So the registry has all kind of different projects in here. They will only show up if they have been onboarded and approved by the administrator. Before that, they are in a status draft where only the project developer itself can see it. If we want to have further information about the project itself, we only have to click this link, and then we see more details like a description, some key figures. The standard, the sectoral scope, and the methodology of the project, these are necessary and important for the resulting carbon credits. We have some dates like a registration date, a start date, end date, some geolocation like where this project is exactly. We furthermore have some documents that might be attached to a project, some project specific documents, some reports that are attached to it, certifications or other documents. We also have a history for each of these projects. So every important step is logged here, like when has a project been validated, when it has been approved, who approved it, which certifying authority, and so on. And if a credit has been issued from this project, these credits will show up here. Which brings us to the next point, the credits. Credits can be in a state of issued, assigned, retired, or canceled. They are retired or canceled once a company uses them to balance out their emissions. A carbon credit is issued once the administrator creates these carbon credits and issues them to the project developer. If then, for example, a company buys these credits and the transfer happens from the project developer to the company, the carbon credits are then in a state of assigned. So as we can see here, we have kind of different carbon credits issued right now on this registry. And if we want to see more details about the carbon credit, we click on details. We see information like serial number, who has it been issued by, who has it been issued to in the first place, who was the verifier involved, what was the monitoring period. The standard sectoral scope and type is actually coming from the project, as I mentioned previously. Some more information like verification reports, if there are some certification and side benefits that will show up here. And the same thing yields as for the projects. Each carbon credit has a history, so we know exactly what happened to that carbon credit. And that brings us to the last point here that the public user can see is the list of all the registered parties. We differentiate 3 different parties in this registry. We have the certifying authorities. They are the ones responsible for certifying, actually for validating and verifying, to be more specific, a project. We have the offset companies. They are the ones who actually want to buy carbon credits, and the project developers who bring the projects into that registry and will then be given their carbon credits from the administrator. So we have actually a 4th identity, which is the administrator. Okay, so how do we interact with this registry? This is why we have built the iov42 Identity Manager plugin. This plugin holds the private and public key of all of the identities that we create. How does that work? So when we want to create a new identity, what actually happens is that we just generate a key pair of private key and public key. And then we create an identity on our blockchain, and then we add the public key, we link the public key to this newly created identity on the blockchain. This is how we have the link. Okay, in our case, I just said before, we want to have a project developer who onboards a project. It goes through the steps of validation and verification from a CA to the very point where a company buys it. That means we need to have these 3 users. In a normal use case, of course, these 3 users would be on different computers, but in our demo, I will create all of these 3 users here in my plugin and switch between the users to show you the flows. Okay, let's start off by creating a new identity for the project developer. For simplicity, we just call it PD. Now, the company has been created on the blockchain. The public key has been linked to that identity, and that's all it needs. The identity has been generated. We also do that for the certifying authority. And we also do that for the company. Let's call it CO. So if we would now use this project developer identity, so we selected this active identity and would try to log in, the pop-up goes up because we're not using a password. So what we do in the background is actually the backend sends a phrase and we are signing that phrase with the private key. And if the public key is known to the backend, the public key can verify that this user is really the user he pretends to be. In our case, this will not work because the web application, you can see here, it fails. The web application has no idea about this user right now. It's just a key in a plugin and it's just an identity on the blockchain, but it's not linked to this specific web application right now. This is why we have to click on sign up. In our case, I'm using for all of these identities, I'm always using my first name, my last name, and my email address. And in this case, we're signing up as a project developer. So what happens now? Again, we need to log in, and this time it works because we are now linked with the web application. So from now on, we are able to log in. We have to give this project developer name. We just call it the project developer. We select a country. Let's use Germany, some phone numbers, some random numbers, for example. We take Berlin, a website, could be HTTP, the projectdeveloper.com. Address, let's just call it street number 1. The registry information, registry for that company is also probably in Germany. And it's Unternehmensregister. And it has also a number. So I, as a representative, I'm signing up on behalf of this project developer, and now I have to upload a logo. This logo will be later used to easily identify these players in the registry. So since we are signing up as a project developer, I have some images prepared here. We would also be able to upload additional documents to this user, but in our case, we assume we are fine with the information we have given. Let's assume the administrator knows us anyway, so we just click on verify. What happens now is that the plugin opens. Why does the plugin open? Because we have to execute certain actions on our blockchain. What does that mean? We created an identity before using the browser plugin. And now this browser plugin tells us that we need an additional step that will happen, which is add an identity claim. This is the information that will now be added as a claim to the identity we generated previously. We can see that this is a 4-step process. So let's jump to the next step. In the next step, we will create a new identity. This new identity is actually used as the organization identity. So I, as an individual user, have my identity in the plugin, but this identity will be the identity for the organization. And then I'm adding myself, because I hold both of the keys at that point, to this organization as a delegate, meaning later on I can act on behalf of this company. And in the 4th step, you might have guessed it, we are adding an identity claim also to this organization with all the information that we have just given. So not just to the individual, but now also to the organization, meaning we have 2 identities and both of them have now identity claims associated with them. If we click confirm, the process is happening and now everything has been done in the background. So we have now the claims for both identities on the blockchain. If we open the plugin, we can even see that at this point, the project developer already is a delegate of the project developer organization. So this is the individual and this is the organization account. So we ask for onboarding approval from the administrator. We will not show up in the registered parties yet because we have not been approved by the administrator. We have to do these steps now too for the certifying authority and for the company. I will just go through it by clicking. I will not say anything so you can see what information we're giving here. I will select the certifying authority first. We'll give all of the information that's needed, and then we'll do the same thing with the company. And again, the same steps as previously, just with some different information for different identities. And one last time for the company now. So at this point, we have requested onboarding for these 3 users. The administrator is the one who is responsible for onboarding users, for onboarding projects, actually approving projects and approving the onboarding of users, and issuing the credits. So what we do is we open the browser plugin, we change our identity to the administrator, and we log in. As mentioned previously, we don't need any password. Everything is done with the private key, which is securely stored in this plugin. And we click confirm. We can also see here that this is the data we are assigning. This is basically our login process. And we confirm it. And you can see here we have 3 different menu items. We have the onboarding requests, we have the project applications, and the issuance request. We will use all of these items during the course of this demo, but let's start with the onboarding request. We can see that 3 users want to be onboarded or approved by us. If we as an administrator would want to see more information about this user, we would click here, and then we would see all of the details that we have just given, like the location, the telephone number, the web information about the registry. If we would have uploaded documents, we would be able to see them here. But in our case, for simplicity, let's just approve all of these 3 users. So the administrator clicks on approve, and what happens is that the browser plugin opens. Why does the browser plugin open? Because right now, we are approving this identity by endorsing an identity claim. So we have an identity, we attached a claim to it before, and now we, as an administrator, we are endorsing this information that we see here. In our case, we confirm that. We endorse this information, and you can see there are only 2 users left here in the submitted tab, and the approved tab is now 35. If we approve the next one, you can see we have now 36 approved users, and the last one, the CA. All of them are now approved, and they're actually users that are able to interact with the system. And this is what we actually about to do right now. We are changing our identity back to the project developer, and we are logging into the system. And you can see that the menu changes. It doesn't look like anything like the admin menu at all, because the system of course knows that our public key belongs to this project developer, and this is why we are only allowed to perform the developer options. And what we are about to do now is we create a new project. So we have prepared some information here. We just call it the forest project. The project has a start and an end date. In our case, let's just take these 2 dates. And a project scale. In our case, it's large. Let's just take the standard, this methodology. We can also give a description here. You have seen that previously in the details page of the project in the left upper corner. And we also need a number of how many carbon credits we want to produce during the lifetime. So we can just enter a number here. Let's just take this. And then we have to give this geolocation information. These are the information that we have seen in the project details page in the bottom. In our case, let's just take Indonesia. Well, just take any random postal code, any city, if we want to have it like, let's just give it, or let's just call it city, then we can see exactly where it shows up in the project details. Afterwards, we have to give a project area, a hosted party. Let's also take Indonesia in that case. And then we have to upload a GeoJSON file, which will indicate the area of this project. So we prepared a GeoJSON file here. So it will show that this is that area that we are talking about in this project. We say save next. We can also upload an example image that will show up in the list of projects and in the details page. And then we have to upload at least one document, which is the project description document. So we just call it BDD for simplicity and also assign it to the category of BDD. We upload this document and now we are able to submit our project to the registry. So we click submit and what happens is that the plugin opens. Why? Because two blockchain actions need to happen. First of all, we're creating an asset. What kind of asset? We are creating an asset from the asset type project. This asset type has been defined prior to setting up this registry application. And now we are creating one instance of this asset type. And this asset is the forest project itself. And what we are doing in the next step is we are adding a claim with all of the information that we have just given, like host party, postal code, city, all of the information that is important to this project. And you can see that at this time we are adding a claim to an asset, not just an identity like we did previously, but to an asset. So we're confirming these actions and it has been successfully submitted. So we created now an asset from the asset type project on the blockchain and we added an asset claim to it. In order to show up in the list of projects that are available, we have 5 right now, the administrator needs to approve it. So we log out as a project developer, we're changing our identity to the administrator, we're logging in. Again, we have to confirm the login. We are going to project applications this time, not onboarding requests. The administrator would now be able to see the details of the project here by just clicking on it. So all of the information that we have just given, like the description, the standard and stuff like that. But in our case, the administrator is fine with it and approves it. What happens at this point is we endorsing, you might have guessed it, an asset claim. Before, when onboarding the user, we endorsed an identity claim. This time we are endorsing this claim on the asset of the asset type project. So we confirm that. And since it's now confirmed, we also will see that in the projects tab, we have now 6 projects and this is the latest one, it shows up here. So what is the next step in order to get to our point where we will be issued carbon credits? The project developer has to run through this validation and verification steps. So we are changing our identity to the project developer. We are logging in. We are going to My Projects and we will now see an option here that this project is now ready for being validated. So we click on Validate. We have to select the certifying authority for that. We're selecting the ones where we have the user for in our plugin and we just submit that. And it's now under validation, meaning the certifying authority will receive an email where it says that there is a new project that needs to be certified. We are logging out and for the first time we're changing to our identity of the certifying authority and logging in. And what we will see here is that we have 3 menu items. One of them is the validation requests, which we are about to click on. And if the certifying authority would want to see more information about this project, the certifying authority clicks on review requests, where also the project description document would be attached. And in case the certifying authority would be fine with all of the information given here, the certifying authority uploads their report. So we have prepared a report here and we just call it the validation report, for example. We upload this document and we validate it. And you can see again the pop-up opens for endorsing an asset claim. Meaning we have this claim on the project and now we as a certifying authority endorsing it. Before the administrator endorsed it, but now also the certifying authority endorses the same claim. So we confirm that. And that means our project is now in the status of validated. That means it can now be set up for being ready for verification. We are changing our identity to the project developer. We are logging into the system. We go to My Projects again, and we can now see, now we can apply for verification here. We click on Apply Verification. This time we have to select a couple of more fields. Again, we are taking the same certification authority. We have to give a certain monitoring period and start and end date. The number of carbon credits that we actually want to issue, let's take 123. We could give a comment. And we also have to upload a project monitoring report. So we are going here. As a project developer, we are uploading this document, which is the PMR, project monitoring report, and now we are able to submit it. And again, the pop-up opens. Why does it open? Because this time we are adding a new claim. So all of the information that we have just given, like monitoring period start and end date, the amount of credits that will be issued, the document information, is a new claim on the asset. So we are creating this claim, and now the project is in the state of under verification, where the certifying authority has to verify it. Meaning we're logging out again, and we're logging in one last time as certifying authority in this demo. We're logging in, and this time we're not going to validation requests, we're going to verification requests. We reviewed the request, looks pretty similar to the validation request, but we have a couple of more information. And we have the project monitoring report instead of the PDD. If the certifying authority is okay with all of the information that they see here, they upload their report to it. Let's just take this PDF here again, and we just call it, this is the verification report. We upload this document and we approve it. And what happens? The same thing as with the validation. Again, we are endorsing an asset claim, but this time not the claim with the project information, but we are endorsing the asset claim that has been generated previously with all of that information that are related to this verification. And we confirmed it. Now the job of the certifying authority is done. This project will be handed over to the administrator, and the administrator will receive an email where it says that a project is ready to get some carbon credits issued. So we log out as certifying authority and we log in as administrator. We will now go to our third and last menu item here, which is the issuance request. We can now see that our project shows up here, and we as an administrator can review all of the information here. This is the information about the verification itself. If we would not trust the information we are given here, we are able to click this verify button throughout the application. Everywhere where there is this verify button, we can click it and the pop-up will open. What that does is it actually checks the claim itself on the blockchain and checks if the data is correct. So you would be able to compare the data that you see here to the data that you see here, and then you know if the data has been tampered with. But in our case, it says this data is verified, and you can even see who endorsed it. So we endorsed it at first with the registry admin and then with the CA. And if we click that verify, we can see that this one has only been verified by the CA, because this was the verification itself. And the first one was the validation, where we onboarded it with the registry admin, we endorsed it, and then we endorsed it with the certifying authority as a validation process. And we can now see that somebody, like the project developer, wants to receive 123 credits. So if we are okay with that, we as an administrator, we issue the credits now. And this is a 5-step process. In the first step, we are creating a new asset type for these credits. And we can also see that it's from the type quantifiable. In the second step, we are then adding a claim to this new asset type with all of the information that are relevant, like this verification information. Then we are creating an asset. What are we creating? We are actually creating this 123 credits for this specific asset type. In the fourth step, we are creating an additional account which will be used for retirement. If the credits will later be used, they will be transferred to this retire account, away from the first account that we created in the previous step here. And in the last step, we will then transfer these assets from the administrator, who is the creator of it, to the project developer itself. So we confirm this action. All of that happens now in the background, and it's successfully completed. That means if we log out now and click as a guest user, for example, on credits and click on issued, we can see that 123 credits have been issued to this new project developer that we have created previously in this demo. Let's assume we are now a company who wants to buy these credits. So for the first time, we are using our company identity and we are logging in. And we confirm the login. And what we are about to do is actually, let's assume we want to buy some credits. We go to the issued ones and we can see, okay, this project developer has 123 credits issued. Let's see the details of this carbon credit and let's request some of them. Let's say we want to request 23 of them. We click on request and what happens is that the browser plugin opens again. In this step, we are, as a company, creating an account for us where we can receive these credits in a next step. So we say confirm, this account has now been created from this asset type for this specific carbon credits. And that's everything that the company has to do at this point. The project developer will now receive an email where it says that somebody is requesting some carbon credits. So we, as a project developer, we are logging in again. And we are going now to the My Credits. We can see that we have been issued 123, but we can also see additionally that there is a pending request. Somebody requests 23 credits of us. So if we are fine with that, if the payment happens in the background via bank transfer, then we transfer it to him and we say send. What happens at this point is a simple transfer. It says we are transferring from this asset type, which is the project asset type. We are transferring 23 of these carbon credits from this project asset type from the project developer to the company that we have just created. And we confirm this action. And we can now see that we are left with 100 issued carbon credits anymore for this project developer. If we go to the My Transaction in the project developers view, we can also see we have been given 123 carbon credits by the registry, and now we transfer 23 carbon credits to the company. And this leaves us with 100 carbon credits issued left. So this is all that we need to do from the project developer side. If we log out and log in one last time from the company's side, we will now be able to see, if we click on My Credits, that we have been assigned 23 credits now. So there is no pending request anymore, no requested. We have been given the 23 credits from the project developer, and we are actually able to use them if we click retire. But before we retire them, let's take a look at the organization information. At the organization information, we have all of the information that we have given, and we have no emission data. So let's create some emission data first. We click on add new emission data, and let's say we have produced 10 tons of CO2. We also have to upload a document that reports that. We just call this one report for 2020 maybe. And we upload this document and add these emissions. So if we click on the organization information again, we can see for the year 2020, we have a negative emission balance of 10. So we have 10 and we have not balanced it out with any of our carbon credits. So let's do that. We are going to My Credits and we want to retire some of them. And let's say we have available the 23 and we know that we have emissions of 10, but let's say we also know that we will soon have additional emissions of 4 maybe. So let's just say we want to use 14 out of this 23 and we retire them. And what happens at this point is what I said previously, we have this retirement account and we will transfer that now to that retirement account. So we confirm that, and now these carbon credits have been retired. So we are left with 9 carbon credits for the company. And if we go to the organization information again, we can now see that we have an emission balance of -4 because we have used 10, but we have retired 14. And if we go to the transaction, we can also see that we have received the 23 carbon credits from the project developer, and then we retired 14 of these carbon credits. That's the whole flow from the very point of onboarding 3 different user identities on the carbon registry to onboarding a project, validating, verifying it, generating these carbon credits, transferring them to the project developer, and then as a final step, using them by the company and before, of course, buying them as a company.